Finding the domain of a function. In this example, we're asked to find the domain of the function g of x equals the square root of x plus 3. So the first thing you have to find out is what type of function this is. Well, if you see here, you have a radical symbol. That tells us that this is a square root function. And with square root functions, they have certain rules or restrictions. With a square root function, you're not allowed to have any number, or you're not allowed to plug in, rather, any number which would produce a negative under the radical. Because if you have a negative under a radical symbol, then that is a solution that is not real. So we want any number that which would produce a positive number or 0. So you can have 0 under the radical, but you can't have a negative under the radical. So to find the domain, all you need to do is take whatever is underneath the radical and set it to where it is greater than or equal to 0. Again, the reason we're setting it to greater than or equal to 0, because remember, we can have 0 under the radical and anything greater, but you cannot have negatives under the radicals because that would be a non-real solution. So let's go ahead and take that portion that's under the radical, the x plus 3, and set it greater than or equal to 0. My next step to solving for x is to subtract 3 from each side. And what that means is we can plug in any number that is greater than or equal to negative 3. If we were to plug negative 3 in, negative 3 plus 3 would produce 0. And remember, 0 is okay under the radical. What's not okay are values that are less than negative 3. For example, I can't plug in a negative 5, because if I plug in a negative 5, that's a negative 5 combined with a positive 3 will give me a negative 2. And the square root of negative 2, square root of any negative number rather, is a non-real solution. So again, here our domain, writing it in interval notation form, would be bracket, because it includes negative 3. We can have negative 3 and anything greater. So we write infinity there, and remember to always close infinities with a parenthesis. You could also write this in set builder form to say that x is such that it can be any number that is greater than or equal to negative 3. And there you have it. Looking at the graph of this function, you can see here that our domain starts here at negative 3 and goes forever to positive infinity. So here is a graph of that function, the square root of x plus 3, which essentially is just a square root function that has been moved to the left 3 units.